What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode, and we are talking about the Denver Broncos, and we are talking about Russell Wilson. Can he elevate the Denver Broncos to become a Super Bowl champion? Can they win the AFC West? We're going to take a look at that and a lot more coming up. Before we jump into it, make sure you guys click like and subscribe. Help support the show, man. It means the world to me. We're over 2K, man, and we're growing each and every day. So please continue to help support the show, like, comment, all that fun stuff. I love to talk to you guys. But let's jump into it, man. So when I think about Russell Wilson, since he's been in the league, he's not my favorite quarterback, but I think he's a super talented guy. That's unquestionable. Part of me kind of thinks he's a little overrated. Part of me thinks he's properly rated. And, some of the times, maybe he's maybe a little bit underrated. We know one thing for sure with Russell Wilson. No matter what, the dude is a winner. The guy wins games. Last year, he went 6-8 as a starter. That is by far, it's not even questionable, the worst year of his career. And he didn't really have a ton of talent, man. That defense is pretty beat up. He was personally beat up. But Russ is an absolute winner. Some dudes just know how to pull out the victories. Playing under Pete Carroll, his stats were very good. Not best in the league, but Pete Carroll runs a really conservative offense. Even though Pete Carroll's not the offensive coordinator or calling the plays, we know his style. It's run the ball on first down, run it on second down, let Russ cook on third down. Let's move the chains and let's do the same thing over again. And let's play a defensive style of football. And don't get me wrong, man, that worked. That worked. But as the Legion of Boom, dissipated, we've seen that not work to that level. And there was the whole, thing, let Russ cook all, past 2 seasons, basically. So, there is a little bit, it's difficult to break down a Russell Wilson because he has such a unique, odd style of playing football with Pete Carroll's kind of style of coaching. So it is a little bit interesting, but let's kind of jump into this. Is over the past 5 years, guys like Kirk Cousins and Jared Goff have actually had more passing yards than Russell Wilson. And you might look at that and say, that's not that big of a deal. But if we really look over the past 4 or 5 years, Kirk and Russ, their stats are extremely similar. And Kirk was playing in a run-first system with Zimmer in Minnesota. I think we take one of those years from Washington, which wasn't a super talented group with super similar stat lines. Kirk didn't win as much as Russ, but we look at it, man, and it's just like the touchdown, the interceptions, the passing yards are all really similar. Completion percentage. Nobody in the world is going to say Kirk Cousins is a top 10 guy, let alone a top 5 guy. There's always been conversations Russ is a top 3 guy. So it's one of those things where does his reputation precede himself. And that's going to be something interesting as we kind of roll on into this Denver Bronco journey that I'm kind of excited to see because he has a ton of skills around him on the offensive side of the ball. There's going to be no more excuses that, we could use when it comes to Russell Wilson. But another thing that kind of worries me about Russell Wilson is wide receivers have come out in the past and complained about Russell Wilson, which we don't see with legendary great quarterbacks. Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer. Let's no ifs and buts about it. Let's not, mince words here. But rarely do we see wide receivers come out about their Hall of Fame quarterback and say they don't really like playing with them. Because, again, to kind of jump into it, Russ plays in a weird style of football. It's really, it's not a timing system. It's basically the opposite of West Coast football. So it's very, long, drawn out, much like a Ben Roethlisberger early in his career, where it's kind of, roll around, make 3 guys miss sacks, and then throw it 50 yards downfield to Tyler Lockett. Unless that's like your skill set. But if you're a true route runner, Russ probably isn't the best guy for you. Again, he brings a lot of things to the table. It's just he's not going to be mistaken for Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, and those kinds of guys. So that's a little bit of a tough one to kind of break down. And then there's also the thing is Russ may be on the decline. We saw Seattle wasn't as great last year. We saw Russ is beat up a little bit, and that's kind of going to the decline. There's been rumors Russ is a little out of shape. He's always been a guy who's been like a little pudgy, but it's kind of, he's in a lose-lose situation because if he was shredded, he'd be really frail because he's not a very tall guy. So it's kind of pick your poison as far as the small quarterbacks are concerned. But, have we seen the best of Russell Wilson? Is that behind him? Is right now maybe a plateau year and then it's kind of a decline gradually? We'll see that. But, it's going to be a tough one to really break down. And I'm really I'm really excited to see it because that AFC West is just crazy talented. That division is going to be an absolute dogfight. My biggest fear, if you're a Denver Broncos fan, is Russ holds on to the ball to the bitter end, takes a lot of punishment like a vintage Ben Roethlisberger, and the difference is Ben was 6'4", 260 pounds. So he could, as later in his career, he could stand in the pocket and run that quick passing game, which is annoying if you're a Steelers fan. But Russ really can't do that as a 5'11" quarterback. His style is his style. So if you're a Denver Broncos fan, maybe it works out this year. Maybe you make a playoff run. Maybe you don't, that's to be seen. But I don't think he's going to be a guy who ages super gracefully. He's been a great runner, and I don't think that's the best part of his game, but he's been very good at eluding sacks more than he's been a traditional runner like a Lamar Jackson. So when his wheels start to go, when he starts to take the punishment, when his arm talent starts to leave him a little bit, those are the things that make Russell Wilson special, man. That's the reason he's a Super Bowl champion. So that's going to be really interesting to see. And I think that's one thing you have to be worried about if you're a Denver Broncos fan, is just how is he going to age? Is it going to be gracefully? And like I said, man, the Denver Broncos offense is so talented. And just to kind of throw out some names for you in case you're not super in the know-how, it's Jerry Jeudy, who's a top 5 route runner in the league. Sutton, who's a big downfield Alshon Jeffrey type receiver, Tim Patrick, Melvin Gordon, Javonte Williams. I mean, this team is crazy loaded. Albert O's over there. They got I can't think of his name, the rookie tight end from UCLA, who's kind of seems like a real receiving threat. Maybe not this year, but as the future goes on. Yeah, man, it's good. It's going to be really, really interesting. I think the defense is good enough to, be middle of the pack. Maybe a little bit higher, depending how they're coached up. But it's really going to be interesting how Russ fares this year, how he fares next year, and how this starts to play out as time goes on. So can Russ lead him to a Super Bowl? I don't think they're that talented. I personally think they're probably the third best team in the AFC West. And then you can argue they're number 4, man. I think the Raiders are going to give them a run for their money. But the Chargers might be at the top. KC might be at the top. But we've seen Russell, man. He can make that magic work. All he needs is a sliver of hope. But it's going to be really, really interesting. And I can't wait to see it, man. So I want to know what you guys think. Do you think Russ is going to age gracefully? Do you think he's going to win a Super Bowl this year or sometime in the next 2, 3, 4 years? Let me know in the comments. Let me know what you guys think. Please hit like, please hit subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.